the 1976 D Lincoln penny. A coin so ordinary, so familiar, that millions of Americans have held one in their hands. Yet a few rare examples, with a hidden flaw, a secret from the Denver Mint, have stunned collectors and rewritten the story of what pocket change can really be worth. Most people see a 1976 penny and think nothing of it. It's the year of America's bicentennial, the 200th birthday of our nation, when the whole country was celebrating freedom, fireworks, and history. But hidden among those billions of pennies was a tiny mistake, one so rare that only a handful survived. And one of them, sold for nearly $1.6 million. A collector at a small estate sale in Colorado picks up an old coffee tin filled with loose change. Dusty, forgotten coins that hadn't seen daylight since the 1980s. He's flipping through them one by one in 1984, 1973, 1992, nothing special. And then, he spots it. A 1976 D penny with a strange shimmer on its surface, a misaligned strike, and an odd copper tone. He almost sets it aside, thinking it's just worn out. But something inside tells him to take a closer look. That decision would change his life. What he didn't know at that moment was that this particular penny was struck on a bronze planchet that wasn't supposed to exist in 1976. By that year, the U.S. Mint had already shifted fully to copper-plated zinc, but a few leftover bronze blanks somehow slipped through the production line at the Denver Mint. These off-metal errors, genuine mistakes born in the chaos of minting millions of coins, are the holy grail for collectors. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The collector sent the coin for grading, thinking maybe it was worth a few $100s. When the results came back, experts were speechless. It wasn't just an off-metal strike, it had double die features on the date, and a dramatic misaligned rim. A perfect storm of minting chaos that produced a 1 in a billion error. Word spread fast. Dealers from across the country were calling, offering thousands, then hundreds of thousands. And finally, at a private auction, the coin sold for an unbelievable $1.6 million. Collectors were shocked. How could something so small, so ordinary, hold such incredible value? But that's the magic of coin collecting, the thrill that a piece of history, a simple penny, can hold a secret worth more than gold. And here's where things get interesting. The 1976 D penny's most valuable versions share three telltale signs. First, the mint mark, the small d below the date, often appears slightly off-center or struck too deep. Second, the coloration may seem richer, more bronze than the dull reddish hue most 70s pennies have. And third, look closely at the word Liberty. On these rare pieces, the letters sometimes show a faint doubling effect, the result of a misaligned die. But there's another twist. A few of these coins were actually struck using leftover proof dies, the kind meant for collector sets, not for circulation. That means their details are razor sharp, the finish unusually smooth, and the edges slightly raised. Experts say these hybrids are among the rarest modern errors in U.S. history. Now here's the wild part. Most of these coins are still missing. Lost in jars, hiding in old dressers, tucked away in dusty basements. For all we know, one could be sitting in your home right now. Think about it. The year 1976, you or someone you know probably has old coins from that era. Maybe your dad's coin jar, maybe a roll of pennies forgotten in the attic. One of them could hold that same minting error. And if it does, you're sitting on a life-changing fortune. But here's what most people get wrong: they clean their old coins. They polish them up, trying to make them look new. That destroys the value instantly. Collectors want originality, the natural patina, the untouched surface. A single scratch or fingerprint can mean the difference between a few bucks and $1 million. So if you find a 1976 D penny that looks different, maybe darker, maybe oddly shiny, or even slightly thicker, don't clean it. Handle it by the edges, place it in a soft cloth or a coin flip, and get it checked by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. But what happened when another collector did exactly that shocked even the experts? A man in Texas found his 1976 D penny while rolling change for his kid's piggy bank. He noticed it weighed slightly more than it should, about 3.11 grams instead of 2.5. That tiny difference meant his coin was one of the rare bronze strikes. It graded at mint state 67 red, and within weeks, it fetched nearly $1 million at auction. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The more we learn about the Denver Mint's chaotic production runs in the mid-70s, the more these stories make sense. During that era, the mint was juggling massive demand for bicentennial coins, quarters, half dollars, and pennies were almost an afterthought. Mistakes slipped through, unnoticed. Those few flawed coins, however, have now become legends, and here's another little-known fact. Some of the 1976 D pennies have a rare die crack running from Lincoln's shoulder toward the rim, a small raised line that looks like a faint lightning bolt. Collectors call it the thunderstrike variety. If you find that, it's a jackpot sign, but what makes this coin truly special isn't just its metal or its mistakes, it's what it represents. It's proof that hidden treasures still exist. That not all value is locked in vaults or stocks or crypto wallets. Sometimes, it's hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and a sharp eye to see what others overlook. So tonight, when you go home, take a moment. Pull out that old jar of pennies. Look at the dates. Check for the D under 1976. Hold it up to the light, tilt it side to side. You might just notice something the mint never intended the world to see, because every now and then, a story like this reminds us fortune favors the observant. And history rewards those who pay attention. The next time you pick up a penny, remember, it's not just spare change. It's a time capsule. It's a mystery. And if you're lucky, it could be worth more than $1 million. So keep your eyes open, your hands steady, and your heart ready for discovery. Because the 1976 D Lincoln penny, the one everyone overlooked, might just be your key to a life-changing find. A coin so ordinary, it could have passed through your hands 1,000 times without a second glance. But this very coin, a 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, has shocked collectors worldwide. Because one of these humble copper-colored cents was recently valued at a jaw-dropping $1.7 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny worth more than most homes in America. It started like any other day. A man in Illinois was sorting through an old jar of change his late father had kept for years. Nothing special, just pennies, nickels, dimes, the usual. But one coin caught his eye. It looked different. The color seemed richer, the strike sharper. And when he noticed there was no mint mark under the date, his heart skipped. Could this be one of those coins, the ones collectors whisper about in forums and late-night shows? He had no idea his life was about to change forever. At first, he thought it was just a worn penny, maybe from years of circulation. But curiosity won. He sent it off for grading. Weeks later, he got a call that would send chills down any coin lover's spine. The voice on the line said, "Sir, this coin is authentic. And it's rare, very rare." You see, most 1991 pennies were struck with either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco if they were proof coins. But a small handful mysteriously left the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark. No one knows exactly how many, some say a few dozen, others believe fewer than 10 exist in this pristine condition. But what makes it truly special isn't just the missing letter. It's why it's missing. During 1991, the U.S. Mint was transitioning equipment and experimenting with dies. Somewhere in that chaotic process, a set of dies meant for proof strikes may have been used without the mint mark. A simple human error. But this mistake created one of the most valuable modern pennies ever found. Could there be more out there? And here's where it gets crazy. One of these no-mint mark 1991 pennies sold for nearly $1.7 million at a private auction. The winning bidder? A collector who'd been searching for this coin for nearly 2 decades, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the sale, the buyer revealed he had found another one years ago, but he'd kept it secret, waiting for the right time to reveal it. That confession sparked a nationwide frenzy. Coin forums lit up. People raided their piggy banks. Pawnshops suddenly saw a rush of folks walking in with handfuls of pennies from the early 90s. It's amazing how one small detail can change everything. The absence of a mint mark, that tiny missing letter, turned a 1-cent coin into $1 million treasure. Think about that for a second. A single forgotten stamp on a coin press created a fortune waiting to be discovered. Dealers say the key is in the date and the texture. The 1991 no-mint mark penny should have an exceptionally sharp strike, strong details in Lincoln's hair and beard, and a clean, smooth field around the date. It shouldn't look worn or smudged, those coins are common. But if yours looks crisp, bold, and missing the mint mark under the year, you may be holding a once-in-a-lifetime find. But here's something even more interesting. Many fake versions have been popping up. Scammers have tried polishing off the mint mark or using chemical treatments to erase it. But professionals can spot the difference instantly. On genuine 1991 no mint mark pennies, the area under the date looks naturally smooth, not scratched or altered. If you see faint tool marks or discoloration, it's a dead giveaway. One expert from the American Numismatic Association said, "These coins are like lightning strikes, they happen once, they're unexpected, and they leave everyone talking." And that's exactly what this 1991 penny did. Imagine finding one in your own home. Maybe in an old coin jar. Maybe stuck between couch cushions. One man did. He was cleaning out his garage, about to throw away an old box of coins his dad left behind. Something told him to take a closer look. Inside was a 1991 penny that looked untouched by time. No mint mark. Crisp details. That penny later sold for over $1.6 million. Every time a story like that hits the news, more people start checking their change. Because who wouldn't? It's the thrill of the hunt, the dream that something so small could completely rewrite your financial story. And here's the truth, these discoveries are happening more often than you think. The coin market is hotter than ever. Collectors are paying record-breaking prices for rare modern coins, not just the ancient or silver ones. Modern minting errors have become the new gold rush. And this 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny is leading the pack. Its scarcity, condition, and mystery. Nobody knows exactly how or why these specific pennies were struck without mint marks. Some believe they were experimental test strikes, others think they were early die trials that slipped through the cracks. Whatever the case, the rarity combined with flawless preservation makes them a collector's dream. The man who sold his for $1.7 million didn't stop collecting. He used the money to start a small coin shop and now spends his days helping others hunt for their own treasures. He said, "I never thought I'd become a millionaire because of a penny. But here I am." And that's the kind of story that keeps collectors searching. Because every jar of coins could hide something extraordinary. Every roll of pennies could hold a piece of American history worth more than gold. Here's what you need to look for. Grab your 1991 pennies. Flip them under good light. Look at the date. If there's no mint mark beneath the year, no small d, no s, nothing at all, your pulse should quicken. Then check the condition. Is the strike strong? The details sharp? If so, you might be staring at one of the most valuable coins in circulation, and don't make the rookie mistake of cleaning it. Even a light rub can cut the value in half. Handle it by the edges, place it in a plastic flip, and have it authenticated by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll confirm its authenticity, and that's the ticket to unlocking its true value. This tiny coin has rewritten what collectors thought possible. From a simple cent to a $1.7 million fortune, it proves that history hides in plain sight and that fortune favors the curious. So before you spend your spare change or let your coin jar collect dust, take a moment. That old penny sitting quietly among the rest might not just be worth 1 cent. It could be worth more than your car, your house, maybe even your future. Yes, a simple 1967 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, no fancy shine, just a regular copper coin that most people would pass off as pocket change, turned out to be one of the most valuable pennies in American history. Imagine this. A man in Ohio empties his car's ashtray while cleaning. He sees a dull, brown penny, almost blackened by years of wear. It's a 1967. No mint mark. He almost throws it out. But something, a tiny instinct, stops him. That single hesitation, that 1 second pause, would change his life forever, because what he held wasn't an ordinary penny. It was one of the rarest errors in U.S. mint history, a coin so mysterious, so hard to believe, that collectors still argue how it even came to exist. But before we get to why this penny is worth over $1 million, let's rewind to 1967. The United States was deep in the space race. The mint was under enormous pressure, cranking out billions of coins for a rapidly growing economy. To speed things up, mint marks were temporarily suspended from all coins between 1965 and 1967. So, no mint mark doesn't necessarily mean it's rare, but here's the twist: something went wrong at the mint that year. Some of the 1967 Lincoln pennies were struck using leftover 1966 dies, and a handful were accidentally created on rare planchets made from a different metal composition than normal. A few were even double struck, slightly off-center, or made with proof-like qualities meant only for collectors. These are the mistakes that turned a 1-cent coin into a $1 million miracle. Dealers were stunned when the first of these pennies surfaced. At first, they thought it was a hoax. But testing confirmed everything: the metal content, the striking error, the flawless preservation. One of these coins later appeared at auction, where a quiet bidding war erupted. The final price? Over $1.8 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. People started raiding their change jars. Coin shops were flooded with collectors desperate to find a 1967 with the same hidden characteristics. Some drove across states, searching old banks and antique stores, chasing the dream of finding their own life-changing penny. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night: only a handful of these rare 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies are known to exist. Some experts believe there are still a few out there, undiscovered, sitting quietly in drawers, jars, or coin albums. Waiting. It's not just the year. It's the subtle, almost invisible errors that make all the difference. The valuable ones often have sharper details on Lincoln's face: the bow tie, the hair strands, and the rim are unusually crisp. Some have a doubled image on the date or the word Liberty. And if you look closely, a few rare examples have a slightly different copper tone, richer and redder than usual. That's because they were struck on leftover bronze planchets, the kind used before 1962, when the mint changed its metal formula. Collectors were shocked when metallurgists confirmed this. It meant that some of these 1967 pennies weren't just struck wrong, they were struck on the wrong kind of metal entirely. That's the kind of mistake that can send a coin's value through the roof. But there's another reason this penny has become legendary. Unlike most rare coins, this one looks ordinary at first glance. There's no shiny proof surface, no visible mint mark to chase. It's the definition of hidden treasure, a millionaire hiding in plain sight. One collector described it best: it's the kind of coin that could be sitting under your couch cushion right now, and you'd never know. But what happened next made headlines across the coin community. When news of the $1.8 million auction sale broke, ordinary Americans started searching their spare change. Grandparents, truck drivers, teachers, everyone wanted a shot. Pawnshops couldn't keep coin magnifiers in stock. Coin forums exploded with stories of people finding odd 1967 pennies, some with off-center strikes, others with deep mirror-like fields. A few even looked like proofs despite never being sold as such, and here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. The U.S. Mint never officially released proof coins for circulation in 1967, but some insiders believe a few accidentally escaped from the mint's testing batches. These experimental strikes, with sharper details and richer color, are the holy grail for collectors today. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auctions are fierce, and private collectors are offering blank check prices for confirmed specimens. One penny, graded at near perfect condition, was quietly sold in a private sale for a rumored $1.8 million. But here's the question everyone wants to know: how can you tell if you have one of these rare treasures? First, grab a magnifying glass and look at the date. The 9 and 6 in 1967 are often slightly thicker or show doubling under magnification. The word Liberty might appear slightly distorted or shadowed. Check Lincoln's eye. In some rare varieties, there's a faint doubling there too. Next, feel the coin's weight. Most 1967 pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, but the rare ones sometimes come in a touch heavier or lighter due to the unusual metal mix. If your penny feels a bit off, don't ignore it, that could be the clue that changes your life. And finally, check the luster. The $1 million examples have a deep red or reddish-brown color that almost glows. It's not a bright, shiny new penny look, it's deeper, more metallic, and unmistakably unique. If you find one that fits these descriptions, get it authenticated by a trusted grading company like PCGS or NGC. A verified mint error can multiply your coin's value beyond imagination. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle because he noticed what everyone else ignored: a simple date, a missing mint mark, and a difference so small it could only be seen under a magnifier. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about metal. It's about mystery, history, and the thrill of the hunt. Every coin tells a story, and some, like the 1967 no mint mark Lincoln penny, tell a story worth $1.8 million. The 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so common, so ordinary-looking, that millions of Americans have held one without realizing its secret. But behind that copper shine lies a story that shook the coin collecting world, a story of mystery, luck, and a mistake that changed history. It all began with a small batch of pennies struck in 1984. The U.S. Mint was transitioning through equipment upgrades, and something unusual happened during production, a rare die error, invisible to most, yet powerful enough to make one of these pennies worth a fortune today. Imagine this, a single tiny flaw so subtle that even the people at the mint didn't notice. But that flaw, it would turn an everyday 1-cent coin into a $1 million miracle. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins appeared. A man from Massachusetts found one while sorting through a coffee can of change he'd saved for years. At first, he didn't see anything special. The penny looked old, worn, and unremarkable. But under a magnifying glass, he noticed something. The image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side wasn't quite right. The ear had a faint, ghost-like double image. That small doubling, caused by a rare die variety now known as the double-ear Lincoln, became the key to unlocking one of the rarest treasures in American coinage. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly, faster than wildfire, through coin clubs, collector forums, and trade shows. Dealers were offering hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands of dollars for verified 1984 pennies with this doubling. Auctions were exploding with bids. The once worthless penny was now turning heads, rewriting what collectors thought possible. And then came the moment no one expected. One of these coins crossed the $1 million mark in a private sale, shocking even the most seasoned experts. Because rarity is the heart of value. The 1984 no-mint mark penny isn't just rare, it's a perfect storm of history, mystery, and human error. The Philadelphia Mint, where these no-mint mark coins were struck, never officially confirmed how many were made with this doubling mistake. Some experts estimate only a few hundred survived circulation. Others believe fewer than 50 pristine examples still exist. Either way, the number is tiny, and when supply dries up, value skyrockets. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on one. Collectors whispered about it in hushed tones at coin shows. One man's pocket change had become a golden ticket. And the irony? Most people still spent theirs without knowing what they had. Every time someone dropped a 1984 penny into a vending machine, a little piece of treasure disappeared forever. But there's more to this story, and it gets stranger. You see, not every 1984 penny without a mint mark is valuable. You have to know exactly what to look for. Most pennies that year look completely normal. But the rare ones reveal their secret in the details of Lincoln's portrait. His earlobe shows a faint second outline, a doubling so clear that it looks like two ears stacked together. Under bright light or magnification, it stands out like a hidden fingerprint of history. Collectors who spotted it early were rewarded beyond belief. Many had searched years for a life-changing find, and suddenly, their patience paid off. Some sold theirs for new homes, others used the money to retire, and one story tells of a man who found one in his father's old coin jar and paid off his entire mortgage. A coin that once bought a stick of gum now bought him freedom. But this mystery didn't stop there. As demand grew, counterfeiters began trying to copy the error. The coin world was flooded with fakes, regular 1984 pennies with hand-carved details or machine alterations. And that's when experts stepped in to warn collectors. The true 1984 no-mint mark double-ear penny has unique markers, tiny die polish lines near Lincoln's neck, and a specific spread in the doubling that no fake could perfectly replicate. Those microscopic details separate the $1 million treasure from a worthless imitation. And here's the twist: this coin isn't just rare for its error. It represents the last great era of hand-engraved dies in U.S. coinage, before the mint moved to fully automated systems. It's a symbol of imperfection in a world that strives for perfection. It's a reminder that sometimes, our mistakes become our masterpieces. Collectors describe holding this coin as holding a piece of history, a tangible moment when human hands, machinery, and chance collided. The excitement, the adrenaline, the disbelief, it's what drives every treasure hunter, every hobbyist, every dreamer searching through pocket change at the end of the day. Because this story proves that fortune doesn't always come from Wall Street or Silicon Valley. Sometimes, it comes from the bottom of your coin jar. But what happened next left everyone speechless. A pristine, uncirculated 1984 penny with the doubled ear was graded by a top-tier coin certification company, and the moment it hit the auction block, collectors went wild. Phones lit up, bids climbed higher and higher, and the final hammer price broke all expectations. It was official, a 1-cent coin had just sold for over $1 million. The crowd erupted. History had been made. Even now, whispers continue among collectors. How many more could still be out there? How many might be hiding in dresser drawers, coffee cans, or forgotten piggy banks? The US Mint may never release the full story behind the error, whether it was a single die gone wrong or a quiet cover-up of a small batch release, but that mystery only adds to the coin's allure, and if you think lightning can't strike twice, think again. Every few years, another rare variety surfaces, a penny, a nickel, a quarter, discovered by someone who wasn't even looking. It's proof that incredible finds still happen to everyday people. You don't need to be a millionaire to find $1 million coin. You just need curiosity, a bit of luck, and a good eye for detail. Grab your 1984 pennies and look carefully under a bright light or magnifying glass. Check Lincoln's ear. Does it look doubled? Can you see a faint outline, like a second earlobe just below the first? If you can, you might be holding something extraordinary. But don't rush to sell, have it verified by a professional coin grader. Authenticity means everything. And if it checks out, you could be looking at the same type of coin that once turned an ordinary day into $1 million moment. Collectors were shocked, dealers still talk about it, and historians see it as one of the greatest minting mysteries of modern America. It's a symbol of how even the smallest details can hold the biggest secrets. A coin that should have been just another penny became a legend, and here's the truth, the next one could be in your pocket right now. So before you spend that 1984 penny, take one last look. Because history has a funny way of hiding in plain sight. That simple, copper-colored coin might just be your ticket to the life you've always dreamed of. A 1961 Lincoln penny, something most of us have seen thousands of times, became the talk of the numismatic world when collectors realized one simple detail made it a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Imagine holding a coin that looks so ordinary, you wouldn't give it a second glance. You toss it into a jar, or use it for parking. But years later, that same coin resurfaces, not as a cent, but as a fortune. That's exactly what happened with the 1961 Lincoln penny. Back in 1961, the Denver Mint was running full steam. Billions of pennies were being struck, each carrying that small D mint mark beneath the date. It was routine until something unexpected slipped through the presses. A batch of coins left the mint with a striking anomaly that would go unnoticed for decades. Collectors didn't suspect a thing. After all, who studies their pocket change that closely? But hidden in those billions was a microscopic minting mistake so rare, so precise, that it transformed a simple penny into a millionaire's dream. The story begins when a retired factory worker in Colorado was sorting through old jars of coins he'd kept since the 1960s. He wasn't a collector, just a man curious about what his change was worth. One coin caught his eye. The color was slightly different, a little richer, almost golden in the light. He almost spent it. But something told him to take a closer look. What he discovered sent chills down his spine. The D mint mark beneath the 1961 looked doubled, as if stamped twice. A minting error? Possibly. But when he showed it to a coin dealer, the reaction was immediate. The dealer froze. Then whispered, "Do you have any idea what you're holding?" It was one of the few known 1961 Lincoln pennies with an extremely rare double die and off-metal strike. The copper alloy was slightly off balance, containing traces of silver and zinc that gave it an unusual tone. Experts confirmed that this was no ordinary coin, it was a minting miracle. Word spread fast. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify their own 1961 pennies. Could there be more like it out there? For weeks, online forums buzzed with speculation. But this particular penny, the one found in that jar, went on to auction. The final bid? $1.1 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Within months, a second collector came forward with a similar coin. This one had even clearer doubling on the mint mark and slightly misaligned lettering in Liberty. The find reignited the hunt and sent treasure seekers racing to every coin jar and basement in America. Here's where things get interesting. Most 1961D pennies are worth just a cent, maybe a few dollars if they're in mint condition. But the difference between a regular penny and the $1,000,000 version is all in the details. Under magnification, you'll notice the double D mint mark, slightly tilted and shadowed. The lettering "In God We Trust" might appear faintly doubled as well, especially on the left side. And if you look closely at the rim, a subtle misalignment of the die can make one side of the coin thicker than the other. These tiny imperfections, invisible to most eyes, are what set the $1,000,000 penny apart, but there's more. Some of these rare 1961D pennies were struck on leftover planchets from earlier coin runs, meaning the metal composition isn't pure copper. Instead, traces of different alloys created a unique color and weight. A regular 1961D penny weighs about 3.11 grams, but the rare variant might weigh slightly less, around 2.9 grams. That difference is small, but to a trained collector, it's everything. Dealers say that when these coins appear, the market trembles. Auction houses clear their schedules. Collectors whisper in forums, comparing weights and photos. And in an instant, a forgotten coin from 1961 can transform an ordinary person into a millionaire. Imagine finding that in your pocket change. One man did, and his life was never the same. He'd been saving coins in a coffee can for over 40 years. One afternoon, his grandson dumped them out on the kitchen table, just for fun. Among the pile of brown and dull pennies, that faintly golden 1961D stood out. They looked it up online, and when they realized what they had, they didn't sleep that night. This story inspired a whole new wave of collectors. Pawn shops began advertising, "We buy rare pennies." Coin forums exploded with new members posting photos, hoping for a match. The energy was electric, the dream that your spare change might hide a $1,000,000 miracle, but most people miss it. They think their old pennies are all the same. They never check the mint mark, never weigh them, never notice the subtle shine that hints at something extraordinary, and that's where opportunity hides, right under our noses. That if you're holding a 1961D Lincoln penny, here's what you need to do. First, grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Examine the D under the date. If it looks doubled, shadowed, or slightly crooked, don't dismiss it. Then, weigh your coin precisely. If it's under 3.1 grams, you could be holding a planchet error, one of the rarest types of minting mistakes. Check the color too. The $1,000,000 1961D pennies often have a deep, warm tone that reflects light differently, almost as if it's glowing faintly compared to other pennies. And before you rush to sell it, get it authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified coin can fetch astronomical prices at auction, especially if it's the real deal. The truth is, the 1961D Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of hidden value, proof that treasures still exist in the everyday world. One small, overlooked detail turned a single cent into a story worth $1,000,000. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or open that old jar of coins in your closet, remember this: a simple penny once discarded as nothing became a golden ticket to wealth. A simple 1995D Lincoln penny, something you've probably held thousands of times, is now shocking collectors and dealers across the United States. Because one small detail, invisible to the casual eye, has turned this common coin into a treasure worth up to $1.2 million. A Denver Mint employee noticed something strange during a routine inspection in 1995. Pennies were coming off the press with a barely noticeable flaw, something that didn't match the standard die alignment. But instead of being caught and destroyed, a few of those flawed pennies slipped into circulation. And for years, no one knew. They sat in drawers, coin jars, and glove compartments until one man stumbled upon one by accident. He was just sorting through a handful of change from a gas station coffee run. Among the dull brown pennies, one caught his eye. The D mint mark looked slightly misplaced. He thought nothing of it at first, but something about the way Lincoln's portrait shimmered in the light made him curious. He took it home, cleaned his glasses, and under a magnifier, he saw it. The double details, the sharp misalignment, and his heart started pounding. Collectors call it the 1995D double die Lincoln penny, one of the rarest modern errors ever made at the Denver Mint. The doubling isn't as wild as some of the earlier errors like the 1955 version, but this one has a twist. Its doubling shows on the obverse, that's Lincoln's face and the word liberty. And depending on the severity of the strike, the value can climb from a few $100s all the way to over $1 million for pristine, uncirculated examples. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That same collector decided to send his penny for professional grading. The experts at PCGS confirmed it: genuine doubled die, mint state condition, perfectly preserved since 1995. When it hit auction, the bids exploded. Coin enthusiasts couldn't believe what they were seeing. A 1-cent coin fetching offers close to $1 million. When the hammer dropped, that tiny penny had sold for just over $1.2 million. The story went viral overnight. One man's pocket change had rewritten coin history. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Not every 1995 D penny is valuable. Millions were minted, but only a handful carry this incredible flaw. The difference is microscopic, but it means everything. The Denver Mint produced billions of coins that year, and a few dies were slightly misaligned, causing doubling on the obverse that escaped detection. Most were melted, lost, or worn beyond recognition. But a select few survived, hiding quietly in circulation for nearly 30 years, and this is why collectors are hunting them like gold. One dealer from Chicago recently shared a story that sent shivers through the community. He bought a random roll of 1990s pennies at a flea market for $5. Inside, he found a single 1995 D with visible doubling. He submitted it for grading, and it came back mint state red, one of the highest designations possible. Within days, offers flooded in from private collectors, topping $900,000. He could hardly believe it. From a $5 gamble to nearly $1 million, but here's the thing most people miss: the error isn't just in the doubling. It's also in the texture. The genuine 1995 D error penny has a distinct sheen, a smoother, almost proof-like luster that comes from the misaligned dies striking the planchet with unusual pressure. Under natural light, it almost glows. Counterfeits can't replicate that. That unique shimmer, combined with the slightly misplaced D and the doubled features on Lincoln's profile, are your clues. Collectors were shocked when grading companies confirmed that fewer than a dozen pristine examples are known to exist in mint state red condition. Think about that: out of the billions of pennies made, only a handful worth more than $1 million. Imagine checking your change, finding one, and realizing you've just discovered a piece of American minting history. That's not just luck, that's destiny wrapped in copper. But there's more. During the mid-90s, the Denver Mint was pushing coin production at record speeds. The machinery was pushed to its limits, dies wore down faster, and small alignment errors began to appear. Normally, those mistakes would be caught and corrected. But 1995 was different. That year, due to production demands, some error coins were never caught. The result? A hidden batch of flawed pennies that would go unnoticed for decades, until collectors began uncovering them one by one. This is why experts now call 1995 a shadow year for error coins, a year when the US Mint's speed became its biggest weakness. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. A second example surfaced in 2012, found by a retired schoolteacher who collected coins as a hobby. She had saved a coffee can of pennies since the 90s. When she finally decided to sort them, she spotted the same telltale doubling. She sent it to auction quietly, not expecting much. It sold for nearly $850,000. The story made national headlines and reignited the hunt for the mysterious Denver double die. Dealers are now rushing to get their hands on any 1995 D penny that looks remotely unusual. Pawnshops, coin fairs, and online marketplaces have seen a surge of listings. But only experts can truly verify authenticity, and that's where the adventure begins. If you're watching this, take this as your sign. Don't overlook the humble pennies sitting in your drawer. Get yourself a magnifier and start checking for that tiny doubled detail on Lincoln's face or the word Liberty. Look closely at the D mint mark under the date. If it appears slightly tilted or out of position, you might be looking at something extraordinary. And remember, condition is everything. A worn coin might fetch a few hundred, but one in uncirculated mint state red can change your life. The difference between a penny and $1 million payday could be a simple plastic coin sleeve. Most people spend their lives searching for big opportunities: real estate, stocks, or business ventures. But sometimes, opportunity jingles quietly in your pocket. Sometimes, it hides in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to notice. The 1995 D Lincoln penny is more than just a minting error. It's a symbol, proof that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable value when seen with the right perspective. And the truth is, this story isn't over. Experts believe more of these $1 million pennies are still out there, lost among the billions in circulation. Maybe sitting in a change jar, or wedged between couch cushions. Maybe even in your home, right now. Collectors say that once you find one, you never look at spare change the same way again. You start to wonder, how many hidden treasures have we overlooked? How many stories of fortune are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look a little closer, so the next time you get change at the grocery store, or dig through a handful of coins for the parking meter, take a second look. Tilt that penny under the light. Study the D mint mark. Notice the doubling on Lincoln's features. That one moment of curiosity could be the turning point in your story. Imagine that, a simple, ordinary-looking penny, the kind you've walked past 1,000 times, turning into a life-changing fortune. This is not a fantasy. This is the unbelievable story of the 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, one of the most mysterious and valuable coins ever to escape the U.S. Mint. It began like any other penny. A small copper coin stamped with Lincoln's timeless profile, tossed into circulation without fanfare. But beneath its surface lies a story that has stunned collectors, confused experts, and changed the lives of a few lucky people who happened to spot what no one else saw. One man in Illinois found his while cleaning out his late father's coin jar. He almost spent it on a cup of coffee. But something about the shine caught his eye. It wasn't the design. Lincoln was as sharp and noble as ever. It was the missing mint mark. No tiny letter below the date. Nothing. Just 1968. A small, silent detail that would make him a millionaire. Now here's where the story gets truly fascinating. Most pennies from 1968 were struck at the Denver Mint and carry a small D below the date. Others came from San Francisco with an S. But a few were minted in Philadelphia, and back then, Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark at all. These coins weren't rare by themselves, but something happened during that year that changed everything. Experts believe a handful of 1968 pennies were struck using leftover or misaligned dies from a prior year, giving them unusual thickness, strange coloration, and in some cases, double-struck features around the date and the word Liberty. These minting mistakes, invisible to most people, became the golden ticket for those who noticed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A small auction in 2019 made headlines when one of these 1968 no-mint mark pennies sold for over $1 million. Collectors were in disbelief. How could a penny, the lowest form of American currency, reach that kind of value? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and history. The coin had a brilliant red finish, nearly flawless surfaces, and sharp details, as if it had been struck yesterday. Dealers described it as a ghost from the mint's forgotten past. The penny defied every expectation, rewriting what was possible in U.S. coin collecting. From that moment on, everyone, from weekend hobbyists to professional numismatists, began scouring their jars, drawers, and glove compartments for this elusive treasure. But here's the part that few people know. Another 1968 no-mint mark penny surfaced shortly after, found in a small-town bank deposit. The teller who spotted it recognized something different about the color: a deeper, reddish hue, slightly thicker rim, and faint doubling on the letters. She sold it privately to a collector for 6 figures. And since then, rumors have swirled that there may be fewer than a dozen authentic 1968 no-mint mark error pennies of this caliber left in existence. This tiny detail, the absence of a mint mark and the telltale die traits, is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The penny looks ordinary to the untrained eye. But under magnification, you'll see a world of difference. The date may show slight doubling. The word "In God We Trust" may appear slightly thicker than usual. The rim is often cleaner, the copper tone richer. And the absence of any D or S beneath the year, that's the first clue you found something incredible. Collectors say holding one of these coins feels electric. The weight, the shine, the realization that this tiny copper disc, once worth a single cent, now carries a value that could buy a home, a car, or a future. But let's rewind for a moment. Why did Philadelphia's 1968 pennies become so rare? The truth is buried in history. The mint was under intense production pressure during the late 1960s. New equipment, new dies, and a transition from silver coins meant chaos behind the scenes. A few experimental strikes slipped through, and no one documented them. When these unmarked coins hit circulation, they blended in perfectly. Decades passed before anyone realized their true origin, and that's what makes them so thrilling. They're not just valuable, they're mysterious survivors of a turbulent time in American coinage. Each one tells a story of oversight, luck, and rediscovery. One collector from Ohio told a story that still gives chills to anyone in the hobby. He found a 1968 penny and change at a gas station in the late 90s. It looked brand new. He kept it in a drawer for 20 years before showing it to a local dealer. The dealer went silent, then whispered, "Do you have any idea what this is worth?" That coin eventually sold for over $1.2 million. A man who never thought about coins ended up living a dream most collectors only imagine, but there's a twist, and it keeps the coin world on edge to this day. Some 1968 no-mint mark pennies are common Philadelphia strikes with no special value. The $1 million ones stand out for one reason: perfection. They're uncirculated, flawless under magnification, and often exhibit unique striking errors like a slightly doubled motto or unusually crisp edges. These are the clues that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. This is where the hunt becomes exciting. Every time you pick up a 1968 penny, you're holding a piece of possibility. You might be touching a coin that's traveled through decades of American history, from pocket to pocket, through hands that never knew its hidden worth. Counterfeits and altered coins have flooded the market. Scammers sometimes remove mint marks from common coins to fake the no-mint mark variety. Real experts know to check for proper spacing, font style, and metal consistency. Authentic 1968 no-mint mark errors have a distinct copper sheen and weight, around 3.11 grams for original copper planchets. Anything significantly lighter or darker could be a fake or a later zinc coin. Still, the dream lives on. Across the country, collectors gather at shows and online auctions, whispering about the next big find. Someone's going to discover another one, they say. It's only a matter of time. And that's the beauty of this world: you never know which handful of change could change your life. Think about it. One coin, one glance, 1 second of attention, and suddenly, you're holding a piece of metal that can rewrite your future. It's not just money. It's history, luck, and destiny rolled into one. So what should you look for if you want to find the $1 million 1968 no-mint mark penny? Start with the basics. Turn the coin under bright light and check below the date. There should be absolutely no mint mark, not even a faint trace of one. Examine the edges. Are they smooth and clean? Look for strong, even strike details on Lincoln's hair and the lettering. Under magnification, check for doubling around the date or letters, especially in God We Trust. If you see that crisp doubling or any signs of die errors, don't spend that penny. Get it graded immediately by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. Condition matters more than anything. Even a slight scratch can cut its value dramatically, while a perfect, red luster finish can turn it into a 7-figure treasure. So the next time you're sorting through your change, pause for a second. That old 1968 penny in your hand might not just be worth a cent, it could be your ticket to freedom, comfort, and a story you'll tell for the rest of your life. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold for over $1 million. The next one might be yours. Imagine that. A simple 1982 D Lincoln penny, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, becoming one of the most valuable coins in modern American history. It started with an innocent mistake. A factory worker at the Denver Mint, surrounded by the hum of machines and the smell of hot metal, pressed a batch of pennies that would go on to shock the world. 1982 was the year everything changed for the Lincoln penny. That was when the U.S. Mint switched from copper to zinc, a decision meant to save the government money. But somewhere between that transition, something went wrong. And out came a coin that was never supposed to exist. Collectors call it the 1982 D small date copper penny, and it's one of the rarest, most mysterious coins in circulation. For decades, people thought it was a myth. Then one day, a man from the Midwest found one while searching through his change jar. At first, he didn't believe it either. He waited, double-checked it, and nearly fell out of his chair. Because his penny wasn't zinc, it was copper. And it was struck in Denver, where copper wasn't supposed to exist that year. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Forums exploded. Dealers rushed to confirm it. When the penny was authenticated and sent to auction, collectors held their breath. And then, the hammer dropped, it sold for a life-changing amount, a staggering sum that turned one man's pocket change into a millionaire's dream. Of this tiny coin, just over a gram heavier than normal, had rewritten coin history. But here's the thing most people don't know: this wasn't just luck. There's a reason these mistakes happen, and it's rooted deep in the mint's production process. In 1982, the US Mint was experimenting with dyes, testing alloys, and rushing to meet demand. A handful of copper planchets, the metal blanks used to make coins, accidentally slipped into the presses at the Denver facility. Those few stray blanks became the 1982 D-copper pennies, each one now worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1.4 million. Imagine holding that much money in your hand, disguised as a penny. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. It wasn't just about metal anymore, it was about history, about human error, about the possibility that treasure could be hiding right in your pocket. And it reignited the thrill of the hunt across America. But here's where things get even stranger. There are 7 different types of 1982 pennies: large date, small date, copper, zinc, Denver, Philadelphia. It's a confusing maze. Most of them are worth only a cent. But one combination, the 1982 D small date copper, is the jackpot. And that's where people make mistakes. Thousands of collectors have weighed pennies, tested them with magnets, and even scratched them trying to see what's inside. But one small misstep can ruin the value entirely. First, the weight. A regular zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. The rare copper one weighs 3.1 grams. That small difference, just half a gram, is the difference between pocket change and $1 million. Second, the date. On the 1982 D penny, look at the shape of the numbers. If the numbers are delicate and more evenly spaced, that's the small date. The large date has thicker, bolder numerals. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And third, the mint mark. It must have that little D under the date for Denver. No mint mark means it's from Philadelphia, and those aren't the $1 million ones. But there's one more twist to this story. Experts believe that more of these rare copper pennies might still be out there, lost in coffee cans, tucked in drawers, or sitting in an old jar on someone's nightstand. Every year, someone finds a coin they thought was ordinary, only to learn it's worth a fortune. And the 1982 D penny has become the ultimate symbol of that dream, because this isn't just about coins, it's about discovery. It's about how something so small, so overlooked, can completely change your life. Dealers are still searching, collectors are still testing, and the legend continues to grow. Some say the mint might have struck fewer than a dozen of these. Others believe more are hidden across the country. But the truth is, nobody really knows. And that's what keeps everyone looking. But what happened next shocked even veteran coin hunters. After the first verified 1982 D copper penny sold, the floodgates opened. Dozens of people started claiming they had one. Coin shops were flooded with hopeful collectors bringing bags of 1982 pennies. Most turned out to be ordinary zinc, not copper. But every once in a while, a scale reading 3.1 grams would make a dealer's heart skip a beat, and that heartbeat, that moment of realization, is what every collector lives for. 1 man even told the story of how his grandfather kept jars of old coins from the 1980s, untouched for decades. After hearing about the $1 million penny on the news, he decided to check. He found several 1982 D coins and weighed each one. One came back 3.1 grams. He thought his scale was broken. But it wasn't. That penny later sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, changing his family's future. Collectors called it a miracle. Historians called it a fluke. But to anyone who's ever dreamed of finding hidden treasure, it was proof that those dreams can come true. And here's where the story takes on a deeper meaning, because behind every rare coin is a moment of human error, a decision made in haste, a forgotten experiment, and somehow, that imperfection becomes priceless. It's the same way life works. The mistakes, the accidents, the things we overlook, they can end up being the most valuable of all. Not all copper-looking 1982 D pennies are real copper. Some are plated, altered, or damaged to look valuable. That's why weighing them is key. Get a digital scale that measures to the tenth of a gram. 3.1 means copper, 2.5 means zinc. No exceptions, and if you do find one that weighs right, don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't scratch it. Just keep it safe and get it professionally graded. Because cleaning a coin can destroy its surface, and a single scratch can cost you thousands, what makes this story so powerful isn't just the money, it's the idea that something forgotten, something dismissed, can hold unbelievable value. That maybe, just maybe, you could be the next person to uncover a hidden treasure in your own home. The 1982 D. Lincoln penny has become more than a collector's item, it's a legend. A story told by coin hunters, dreamers, and everyday people who believe in the magic of second chances. So the next time you get change back from a store, look closely. Hold that penny to the light. Feel its weight in your hand. Because the one thing separating you from $1 million could be sitting right there, waiting for you to notice it. But when a collector realized what he was holding, it turned out to be one of the most valuable modern pennies ever discovered, a 2002 D mint mark Lincoln penny worth up to $1.5 million. Yes, a simple copper-plated coin you could find in your spare change turned one man's ordinary day into a life-changing story. It began in Denver, Colorado, the D mint mark city, where billions of pennies were struck that year. But among them, a few slipped through the presses carrying a secret mistake. A tiny minting flaw invisible to most people, but glaringly obvious to experts once they looked closer. And that microscopic difference transformed what was supposed to be just another penny into a collector's dream worth over $1 million. Let's rewind to 2002. The U.S. Mint was producing pennies using copper-plated zinc planchets, a change made back in 1982. Machines were running non-stop, cranking out coins for circulation. Somewhere in the chaos, a press malfunctioned, the dies misaligned or double-struck, and a few pennies were struck off-center or with faint details. These weren't just minor errors, they were the kind of mistakes that happen once in a generation, but here's where it gets strange. The Denver Mint had some planchets that weren't standard. Some were leftover copper-based blanks accidentally mixed in with the newer zinc ones. That means a few 2002 D. Lincoln pennies might have been struck on solid copper, the same metal used decades earlier. Imagine holding a coin that shouldn't even exist, and one collector did. He wasn't even looking for anything special. He was just rolling coins from a jar his father had kept since the early 2000s. As he slid one penny between his fingers, he noticed something odd. It felt heavier. The color was deeper, richer, almost glowing with that old-school copper shine. When he placed it on a scale, it weighed 3.11 grams, a pure copper weight, not the 2.5 grams of modern zinc. That difference, that single decimal point, changed everything. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. He took the coin to a local dealer who nearly fell out of his chair. After a series of tests, the coin was authenticated, graded, and later sold at auction for well over $1 million. The auctioneer's gavel came down, the crowd erupted, and a man who once thought he just had pocket change suddenly found himself with a seven-figure payday, and since that day, collectors across America have been searching every 2002 D penny they can get their hands on. Dealers are on alert, buyers are watching listings like hawks, and the legend of the $1 million penny continues to grow, but here's where it gets more interesting. There's not just one type of valuable 2002 D penny. Some have a dramatic double die where Lincoln's profile or the date appears slightly shadowed or doubled. Others have an off-center strike, where the image is slightly shifted, exposing a blank crescent on the edge. Each variation has its own market value, but the rarest of them all, the full copper strike from Denver, is the one worth up to $1.5 million today. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many of these could still be out there, hidden in old jars, cash registers, or those penny bowls at diners. Every coin tells a story, and this one whispers about a minting room moment that was never supposed to happen. 1 second of machine error, one unnoticed mix-up, and now, over 2 decades later, you could be holding a piece of numismatic history. But here's the twist. Many people have this coin and don't even know it. They spend it, lose it, or drop it in a tip jar, unaware that they're handing away a fortune. That's why learning to identify it is everything. Start by checking the mint mark, D4 Denver. Then, feel the coin. Real copper pennies have a slightly heavier, more solid feel. Use a precise digital scale. If it weighs around 3.11 grams, that's your first clue. Look for any unusual color. Older copper has a warmer, almost reddish tone. Now, under magnification, check for doubling on the date or Lincoln's eye. Even subtle imperfections can mean major value, but here's the thing most people miss. If your penny looks almost perfect but feels slightly thicker, it might have been struck on a foreign planchet, another type of rare error. Those coins can also reach into the hundreds of thousands every year. Thousands of collectors search through rolls of 2002 pennies hoping to find that one in a million strike. Some get discouraged. Some give up. But then someone else finds a strange penny at the bottom of a drawer, and the legend grows all over again. Imagine the moment when you're sorting your spare change, and that one coin catches your eye. You turn it over, check the mint mark, weigh it, and your heart starts racing. Because now you know this might be it, the coin that could change your life forever. Stories like this remind us that luck often hides in plain sight. That something as ordinary as a penny could carry extraordinary value. And that the world's next $1 million discovery could be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice it. Dealers still talk about the original discovery like it was a myth come to life. A man finding a life-changing fortune in a pile of pennies. That's why collectors today look at every coin differently, because now they know what's possible. So don't overlook your change. Don't assume every penny is the same. History has proven again and again that the smallest treasures can hide the biggest rewards. This isn't just about coins, it's about discovery, patience, and the thrill of uncovering something that shouldn't exist. The 2002 Lincoln penny has become a symbol of hope for collectors everywhere. A reminder that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a piece of history worth more than gold. And the next time you open a dusty coin jar or count the change in your car's cup holder, remember this story. That simple coin could hold a secret, a misprint, a metal error, or a once-in-a-lifetime strike. A simple, ordinary-looking 1971 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, dull brown, nothing special at first glance. But this little piece of copper shocked collectors around the world when one just like it sold for over $1.5 million. And here's the thing, thousands more could still be out there, hiding in pocket change, waiting to be discovered. Imagine finding a penny that could change your entire life. That's what happened to one man from Ohio, who almost gave his away at a garage sale. He was sorting through an old coffee can filled with coins when something about one penny caught his attention. It looked different. The color was slightly off. The edges were sharper. And the sound it made when dropped on the table, not the soft clink of a modern zinc penny, but a deeper, richer ring. That small detail sent him down a rabbit hole that would lead to a jaw-dropping revelation, because what he held wasn't an ordinary penny. It was a 1971 Lincoln cent struck with an error so rare, even experts had trouble believing it at first. And this is where the mystery begins. The year 1971 was a turning point in U.S. minting history. The U.S. Mint was under pressure, coin shortages, design changes, and experiments with new metals were happening behind the scenes. Mistakes were bound to happen. And when they did, they created treasures. Some 1971 pennies came out slightly off strike, others were double die-bursts, and a few were struck on leftover planchets, blank coins meant for completely different denominations. But the true legend lies with the 1971 no mint mark Lincoln penny struck in Philadelphia, a coin that defied all expectations. Unlike the ones from Denver or San Francisco, this one carries no letter under the date. It looks plain. Invisible. But that's the beauty of it, the secret hides in plain sight. Dealers call it the ghost of the mint, because for years, collectors didn't even realize it existed in such rare, perfect condition. Until one day, a man brought his coin to an appraisal event, thinking it might fetch a few dollars. The appraiser looked through his magnifying glass, and his expression changed instantly. His hands trembled. He asked the owner if he knew what he had. The man shook his head. "You're holding a coin that could be worth more than $1 million." That single sentence changed his life forever. The coin later went to auction, and when the gavel fell, it sold for over $1.6 million, breaking every expectation for a penny from that era. Experts later discovered that this coin had an incredibly sharp strike and near-perfect preservation, with not a single blemish under magnification. More importantly, microscopic doubling appeared on Lincoln's profile, especially around the nose, lips, and the word liberty. This doubling effect, caused by a die misalignment, gives the coin a ghostly, 3D appearance. Only a few known examples exist in such pristine condition. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were desperate to find more. And everyday Americans began checking their coin jars, magnifying glasses in hand, hoping lightning would strike twice. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As more people began searching, new variations of the 1971 penny started appearing, some with unusual luster, others with proof-like surfaces that seemed too perfect to be regular circulation strikes. The mint had never fully confirmed how many of these pennies were produced, adding even more mystery. Was it a minting error? A special test run? Or something else entirely? Theories exploded online. Some claimed it was a transitional planchet, a leftover from earlier coin metal tests. Others believed it was struck on a bronze planchet instead of the modern copper zinc mix. Every new theory sent shockwaves through coin forums and collector circles. The right 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny could make you a millionaire. One collector from Florida reportedly found one inside an old paper roll he bought from a bank. He thought it was a joke until a professional grader authenticated it. His $1 roll of pennies turned into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even more. But here's the part that most people miss: the difference between an ordinary 1971 penny worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million is smaller than the width of a human hair. You have to look closely. Very closely. Check the front of the coin first. If there's no mint mark under the year 1971, that means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Then, look at Lincoln's profile. Tilt the coin under a bright light. If you see doubling, a ghost-like second outline around the face, the letters, or the numbers, your heart should start racing. That's the doubling effect that defines some of the most valuable error coins in U.S. history. Next, check the color. True copper pennies from that era have a deep reddish tone that ages beautifully over time. If yours has a rich, chocolate brown color with hints of red when tilted, it could be one of the early strikes, the kind collectors crave. Condition. A penny that's been handled, scratched, or stored poorly might lose thousands in value. But one in near-perfect condition, with sharp details and minimal wear, could easily reach the 6 or 7 figure range. Collectors often say, condition creates legends, and that couldn't be truer for this coin even today. Experts believe there are still undiscovered 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies sitting in old coin jars, dresser drawers, or tucked away in basements across America. Every week, new examples surface in auctions, some selling for tens of thousands, others breaking records. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another collector turned a random find from a flea market into his retirement fund. And countless others are still searching, magnifying glasses ready, dreaming of their turn. So tonight, before you toss your spare change into that old jar, take a second look. That dull copper coin could be the key to your financial freedom. It could be the forgotten piece of American history that turns your ordinary day into something unforgettable, because the truth is, these stories aren't just luck, they're reminders that hidden wealth is everywhere, waiting for someone with curiosity and patience to uncover it. A simple, ordinary-looking 1981 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, dull brown, barely worth a cent until someone looked closer. What they found turned an everyday coin into a $1 million miracle. And it's a story that's still shocking collectors today. It started, as most legends do, with something small. A man in Pennsylvania, sorting through an old coffee can of change his father left behind, noticed a penny that felt different. The color was off. The surface shimmered faintly under light. He thought nothing of it at first. But curiosity got the best of him, and that decision would change his life. You see, in 1981, the U.S. Mint was preparing to transition the penny's metal composition. Just 1 year later, in 1982, they replaced the solid copper penny with a cheaper zinc core coated in copper. But during that shift, strange things happened behind the scenes: test strikes, experimental planchets, errors that were never meant to leave the mint. And if you slip through most 1981 pennies, you'll see are ordinary copper coins made in Philadelphia, which means no mint mark under the date. But here's the twist: some of those 1981 no mint mark pennies were struck with microscopic differences, the kind even trained eyes miss. The die used to stamp them was slightly misaligned, creating subtle features: faint doubling in the letters, sharper relief in Lincoln's bust, and in some cases, a distinct shine that's unlike any other penny. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That same man decided to bring his strange penny to a local coin shop. The dealer examined it under a magnifier and froze. He called another expert, then another. Within days, whispers spread through the collecting community: a 1981 no mint mark penny like no other has surfaced. Some thought it was a hoax. Others claimed it was one of the mint's long-lost pre-transition test coins. Then came the auction. The penny, authenticated and graded at an almost perfect mint state, sold for over $1.7 million. Collectors were speechless. A 1-cent coin, worth nearly $2 million. Dealers were rushing to check their old stock, scouring bags, jars, and rolls of 1981 pennies for signs of the same hidden treasure. Experts believe that a small number of 1981 pennies were struck using prototype dies intended for 1982. These experimental dies may have had slight variations in lettering and relief, making them unique. Some even show traces of early zinc planchets being tested before the full switch in 1982. But those coins were never meant for public circulation. The theory? A few mint employees may have accidentally or intentionally let them out with regular pennies, but that's not the only twist. There's also the matter of the ghost doubling effect, a phenomenon where Lincoln's profile appears slightly doubled under certain light angles. Most collectors dismiss this as a die fatigue or reflection. But on the rare $1 million versions, it's crystal clear, like a shadow of Lincoln himself watching over the coin. That detail alone separates an ordinary penny from a piece of numismatic history, and just when experts thought they'd seen it all, another 1981 penny appeared online, no mint mark, flawless strike, vibrant luster. It didn't sell for $1.7 million, but it fetched over $80,000 at a private sale. Word spread again, reigniting the hunt. Imagine finding that in your change. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, but what makes this coin so captivating isn't just the value, it's the mystery. 1981 was the calm before the storm. The last true year of the solid copper penny, a symbol of American craftsmanship before cost-cutting took over. Each coin from that era carries a whisper of that transition, and for a few lucky ones, the whisper became a roar. People began digging through their drawers, searching through forgotten piggy banks, hunting rolls from banks just to get a glimpse of that elusive shimmer. Collectors say you can spot the rare ones by 3 key signs. First, the color, it's deeper, more reddish gold than modern copper. Second, the strike, Lincoln's hair and the lettering Liberty appear sharper than usual. And third, the sound, tap it lightly, and it rings higher than a typical penny, thanks to its unique metal mix. Still, many people overlook them every day. They spend them at stores, drop them in parking lots, let them vanish into circulation, never realizing they just lost a piece of American treasure. And if that doesn't make you double-check your coins tonight, listen to this: the original 1981 no mint mark penny that broke records was almost thrown out. Its owner had planned to take his change to a coin-counting machine. If he had done that, it would have vanished forever. Instead, that coin became his ticket to financial freedom. This is why collectors are obsessed. Every time someone finds a 1981 penny, there's that electric moment of possibility. Could this be the one? Could this ordinary cent hold the power to rewrite my life story? But there's another reason this coin matters. It represents something we've all felt, that sometimes, the smallest, most overlooked things in life can hold the greatest value. A penny that everyone ignored for decades turned into proof that hidden treasures still exist, waiting for the right person to see them. And just when the story seems over, there's another layer. Some experts believe there's a second batch of 1981 no mint mark test pennies still out there, coins that never hit the market, tucked away in private hoards or mint archives. If one of those surfaces, it could easily break the $1 million record again. Look closely under the date. There should be no mint mark. The surface should shine with a rich copper tone, not dull brown. Check for crisp edges, no signs of wear, and a clean, centered strike. If Lincoln's profile and the lettering look slightly doubled or sharper than normal, that's your first clue. If it weighs slightly more than 3.1 grams, that's another. The rarest ones are those that seem just a bit too perfect, as if they were made for something greater than circulation. And here's the part most people miss: these coins often hide in plain sight. They show up in inherited jars, estate sales, flea markets, and old dresser drawers. Someone's forgotten childhood piggy bank could be worth a small fortune. One collector even found his while helping his grandson with a school project about old coins. He noticed the penny's unusual gleam, sent it off for grading, and 3 months later, it came back with a 6-figure appraisal. That's the kind of story that keeps people searching. The 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a symbol of hope, a reminder that fortune can hide in the smallest corners of our lives. It's proof that sometimes the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is just a single moment of curiosity. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or glance at the pennies scattered on your counter, look again. Check the date. Look for that missing mint mark. Examine the shine. You never know, you might be holding a coin that collectors would pay over $1 million to own. Imagine this. You're digging through an old coffee can of pennies, the kind that's been sitting on a shelf for decades, when one coin catches your eye. It looks ordinary at first. Lincoln's face, copper tone, nothing fancy. But then you notice something missing, no tiny mint mark under the year 1988. Just a clean, blank space. You shrug, toss it aside, not realizing you may have just held $1 million miracle in your hand. This coin story begins in the late 1980s, a time when the US Mint was running at full speed, producing billions of Lincoln pennies every year. 1988 should have been a normal year for pennies. But something happened inside the Philadelphia Mint, something that even seasoned collectors didn't notice for years. A few pennies, just a handful, were struck using a leftover design die from 1987. That small oversight created one of the most valuable error coins in circulation today, but here's where things get wild. For decades, nobody knew. These 1988 no-mint mark pennies quietly slipped into circulation, into pockets, cash registers, piggy banks, and lunch money. They traveled across America unnoticed, hiding in plain sight, carrying a secret worth a fortune. Then, one day, a collector in Illinois stumbled upon one. He was sorting through hundreds of old pennies with a magnifying glass, just another quiet evening hobby, when he spotted it. The reverse side looked slightly off. The lettering was sharper, different from other 1988 coins. When he looked closer, his jaw dropped. It wasn't just a normal penny. It was an accidental hybrid, a 1988 obverse paired with a 1987 reverse design. That tiny mistake turned this coin into one of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever made. And once the discovery hit the collector community, the reaction was explosive. Coin forums lit up. Dealers were in disbelief. How could such an error exist undetected for so long? Collectors started checking their 1988 pennies obsessively, hoping lightning would strike twice, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A pristine example of the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny crossed the auction block, and it sold for over $1.8 million. That's right. A single cent, struck by accident, became a millionaire maker, and the best part? Most of these coins are still out there. Hidden. Waiting. Experts believe only a few dozen genuine 1988 no-mint mark transitional error pennies have ever been identified. The rest might be sitting in old jars, drawers, or dusty shoeboxes across America. Somewhere, a coin that looks completely ordinary could change someone's life forever, but here's the catch. Most people miss it. The difference is subtle, almost invisible to the naked eye. On the surface, the 1988 no-mint mark penny looks like every other Lincoln cent. But look closer. On the reverse side, where it says United States of America and 1 cent, there's a hidden clue. The design used for this error coin came from 1987, not 1988. Focus on the designer's initials, the tiny letters FG near the Lincoln Memorial. On the 1988 error penny, those initials match the 1987 style. They sit closer to the base of the memorial and have a distinct shape. That's your sign. If your 1988 penny shows that older FG style, you might be holding $1 million coin. Collectors were shocked when they realized how easy it was to overlook. People had been spending these coins for years, buying coffee or paying parking meters with something worth more than a mansion, but what makes it even more unbelievable is the story of one man from Ohio who found his in the most unexpected place. He'd been collecting coins since childhood but had never found anything valuable. One day, while helping his mother clean out her old purse drawer, he found a small envelope labeled pennies, just in case. Inside were about 20 coins, including one 1988 no-mint mark penny. Curious, he took it to a local dealer. The dealer examined it under magnification, and his eyes went wide. Within weeks, the coin was authenticated, graded, and insured. Months later, it sold at auction for more than $1.7 million. That man's life changed overnight. He didn't find his fortune in stocks or crypto, he found it in a penny his mother had saved for sentimental reasons. But why would the mint mark matter so much? Here's the secret. The Philadelphia Mint didn't always use a mint mark. Before 1980, most pennies made there had no mark at all. But after that, the mint began adding them consistently. So, a 1988 penny without a mint mark shouldn't exist in that form unless it was struck with the wrong die. And that's exactly what happened. This one-year crossover between design types makes the 1988 no-mint mark penny a transitional error, the kind of mistake that keeps collectors awake at night. Transitional errors happen when the mint accidentally mixes up designs from different years, creating a coin that's technically impossible, but here's where things get even more dramatic. Some fake versions have surfaced, ordinary 1988 pennies altered to remove the mint mark or mimic the error. Scammers know how valuable this coin is. So, if you think you've found one, never clean it, polish it, or try to alter it. Take it directly to a professional coin grader like PCGS or NGC. They'll use microscopes, light analysis, and edge detail comparisons to confirm if your coin is real, and trust me, if it's authentic, your heart will skip a beat when you hear the verdict. Because that one penny could put you in the history books and make you a millionaire overnight, but here's the twist that keeps collectors hunting. Some experts believe there are still undiscovered variations of this error. Slight differences in die wear, metal composition, and strike sharpness could mean multiple batches were created before the mistake was caught. That means more could be out there, waiting to be found by someone who simply decides to look closer. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or sort through that old change jar, take a moment. Hold each penny up to the light. Look at the date. Check under Lincoln's portrait. No mint mark? Flip it over. Examine those tiny FG initials near the memorial. They could be the difference between 1 cent and $1.8 million. Collectors say the thrill isn't just in the money, it's in the mystery. Every coin tells a story. Every small imperfection might be history whispering through copper, and remember, it's not the rarest coins that are found, it's the ones that are looked for. So keep your eyes sharp, your mind curious, and your heart ready for that moment when everything changes. Because the next legendary discovery isn't in a museum or auction house. It's in someone's hand right now, maybe yours. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has already made ordinary people millionaires. It's turned pocket change into life-changing wealth.